Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. In the 13 years, Dorothy, that we've done the show, we always have looked forward to doing a show during Thanksgiving week, Christmas week, and many of the shows that we've done during those time periods have been filled with nostalgia. And Thanksgiving in particular is a great holiday, especially in North Carolina. It's one where we remember, our childhood. We celebrate our families. We celebrate people that have been close to us who are no longer with us. Mm-hmm. And it can be a bittersweet time, but can also be a happy time. But it just seems like there's a flood of memories. We kind of stop living and we kind of sit back and reflect.
Yep.
This year, this past June, we lost a close friend, Claire Bruno, who was well known in Moore County. And when I say we, I'm including myself, and I'm including my 3 guests who are here today to talk about Claire, their relationship with her. Claire was 74 or 75 and was a landscape designer. She was a mother. She had children, I guess, scattered all over the country. And she was somebody that kept reinventing herself as she grew and as she matured. And she came from different places to get to where she finally landed here, and I think found the right formula for the way she lived her life. Joining me today are some of her friends. To my left is Susan Beebe. Susan has resided in Southern Pines since 2011. She and her partner, Charlie Plum, have a horse stable, CDP Stables in Southern Pines. She's taught and trained professionally since 1994. She's a professional 3-day event rider, and she's competed for many years at the advanced level, including runs at the Rolex Kentucky 4. Now it's known as Land Rover 5. To her left is Brian Rosenberg, who is the chairman of the board of the Carolina Horse Park Foundation, a retired attorney. You're also a jumper. And you've been on the board for 8 years, chairman for 7 of those 8. And you also have lived in Southern Pines for the last 11 years. And Lori Heim, who is a retired physician and a retired colonel in the Air Force, a lifelong horse enthusiast, and you're an event rider. You own 4 horses. You care for them. You've all known Claire in many ways, and you've been here for 16 years. June 29th was a very sad day for all of us. Lori, we got a chance to speak on the phone, and even though we hadn't met, we all share Claire in common. And there are a lot of reflections I want to ask. How did you know Claire, and how long have you known her?
I don't really remember when I first met her, but I think it was shortly after we built our house. And Claire was riding her horse, Bugsy. And if, as you know, Claire, she never has met a stranger.
Right.
She automatically started talking to me as the new person in the neighborhood.
Right.
And I had no idea she was in landscaping, but we bonded over horses and just her effervescence, her joy, whatever she was doing.
Right.
And so that friendship initially centered around horses, and then we got into gardening as time went on.
Yeah. Did she work with you in cultivating your farm?
She used a field that I manage, and so she was always so grateful for that. She kept coming and saying, "What can I do to help you
Right.
since you're helping me out?" And so I would, whenever I got in trouble with my garden, which is way too big, Claire would come over and give me suggestions. In fact, the week before she died, I had called her and said, "Claire, I have no idea what to do with these overgrown bushes." And she dropped everything, came over with her clippers, and I thought she would just point to a plant and say, "That's what you do." No, 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 no. Claire grabbed her clippers
Right.
and went right to town, pruned up the bush, and she said, "Now you do the rest of them just like that."
Right.
And that was so emblematic of who she was.
Right.
And then what I thought was going to be a 5-minute sort of, this is what you do, turned into about an hour and a half visit, talking about everything going on in her life at the time, and just bringing everybody together.
Claire, however we go through our lives and all the stages we go through and the chapters that we live through, somehow Claire got to a point where she found the joy in what she did.
Mm-hmm.
And her relationship with the land and the plants and the way she would micromanage every little thing about them, I appreciated so much, because I did not and I do not have a good relationship with them. I try. She wanted to teach me. I didn't necessarily want to learn. I trusted her so much. I just said, I trust you. Just, it's yours. Go ahead and take the blank canvas and make it right. Okay, she would say. Then she would explain every little detail to me. And I could listen for a little while, and I couldn't get it all, and I wasn't going to take a multiple choice test. But there was a joy in what she did, and I was captured by her joy. And she found a lot of things completing circles in the last couple of years, I think. She was a pleasure to be around. Yeah. Susan, you've also known Claire. Have you known her the same way Lori has?
I've known Claire since I moved here in 2011. She worked at our farm for us, Charlie and myself.
Yeah.
Helped take care of the horses, clean stalls, do all the stuff that a farm entails. Additionally, she kept our gardens up.
Yeah.
Because Charlie and I do not have anything close to a green thumb.
You and I have a lot in common.
Yes.
Okay.
So much like you,
Yeah.
Claire had a blank slate to do anything she wanted at the farm, and she kept our farm beautiful.
Right.
And kept us out of the gardens. She
Right.
told us, "You don't water, you don't do anything because you will kill my plants."
Right.
So,
And they were hers.
yeah,
They were her children. They were her babies. Right. That's
absolutely.
exactly right. There was a possessiveness. She took ownership.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
She and her sweet dog Summer.
Yeah.
They were a pair. You never saw one without the other. And she would be out at the barns every morning to visit her beloved Bugsy, who's the horse she's had since beyond time,
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And she and Summer would then be in the gardens, pruning away, clipping, planting. It was always fun. And as Lori said, her effervescence, her joie de vivre, she was the happiest person I've ever met in my life.
Right. Exactly.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well said. Brian, you're the chairman of the board of the Carolina Horse Park Foundation, and you've gotten to know Claire through them and through some of the time that she spent at the horse park.
Right, and that's how I met her, is that she volunteered all of the stuff that she did out at the horse park. She volunteered. And so at first, when I was out there, this lady with a truck would just pull up at 5 o'clock in the evening and get out and start messing with the plants, and they always look great. We have
Right.
an area around the old office that is always immaculate. So whether she was pruning or replacing a shrub that wasn't looking so good or whatever, And she would come with materials. She'd say, "Oh, I had this extra so-and-so plant, and I think it would look perfect here. I've been thinking about it all week." But it would be after a long day. I'm sure she was already exhausted, but she would just show up, all smiles, always with those red clippers attached to her belt, ready to go.
Right, exactly. She loved what she did. She wasn't the best businesswoman. She wouldn't necessarily quantify everything that she did or brought, and many times she got caught short. And we would talk about that, and she would come to me and she would tell me about a situation that she had with either a client that I had introduced her to, where her estimate would come in, and by the time she was done, it exceeded. You're looking at me as if you know. And she wasn't tough like that. Because she was full of love, and she was more interested in the project. The money was secondary, and but then a couple of times, it would bother her. But you know what? She would shrug her shoulders and she would move on. There was a grace about her in that regard, because she didn't do it for the money. She did it for the love, and but I don't know if I were her accountant, I would have to sit there and discipline her and say, "Hey, you've got to set this up." She didn't like that part of the business. It was more artistic, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The thing about Claire is, as you said, she did it, all her gardening, all her writing, all her dealing with all kinds of people, because she was so filled with love.
Yeah.
She was happy, and she raised 5 kids on her own, and they are all grown up to be the most amazing humans, just like her.
Right.
She was a spectacular person.
The service was very moving. I mean, if she could have seen all the people from all different walks of life who came, that church was packed. I don't know. Do you think Claire had any idea about the type of impression she left with people?
No, and I talked with her husband afterward, David, and
A gentleman.
oh yes,
Just a gentleman.
and he was saying exactly that Claire would have been stunned, because I don't think that she realized the impact that she had on people. And the other thing that I always loved about Claire was that she really wanted to bring people together. She loved meeting and chatting and getting to know other people. And I think that the community response that we saw at her memorial service was again reflective of her ability to reach out to people and make people feel connected and make them feel a part of her life.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the patterns with Claire that I found was she wasn't always on time. She was sometimes scattered. She had so many things going on in her head. She was going to get to it. It just wasn't going to happen on our clock sometimes. So I always found myself adjusting my clock because she was worth it. It didn't matter. So funny story, I had referred Claire to a lot of clients of mine where she went in and did a ton of work after they purchased a home, and they wanted to embellish their landscaping. And most of them were understood. A couple didn't. A couple of them, they're from the Northeast. Be on time, right? 9 o'clock? Where is she? She'd never show up at 9 o'clock, but she would show up. And she would just come at 4. Her truck would pull in the driveway, and she would come. She'd be talking almost before she was within earshot of the people she was talking to. about about the reasons that she couldn't get there so soon, and she just would walk right into the garden, grab a ligustrum, or do this or do that, and she would just start working while she was talking. Most people are like, well, I had to schedule for this morning, you got to loosen up just a little bit. Most people, though, once they got to see her spirit, they got her, and it was okay. That was just Claire. Lori, if I say something and you laugh, then I'm thinking your experience is not dissimilar from mine sometimes.
Oh, yes. Well, most of the time I knew Claire was just bumping into her writing.
Okay.
And so that was the time when Claire was writing Bugsy, where she was so centered, and
Right.
the rest of the world
Right.
dropped away. And I think that's one of the reasons why we love horses, is because that does tend to happen. I came to realize that that's the way gardening was for her as well, that nothing else mattered. So if she got into a project, she was going to fix it before she went on to something else. And so if you do that, your day, the time just completely drops away. But like you said, her life took a lot of turns.
Yeah.
I don't know the Claire from younger days, but I think by the time I met her, she was very much at peace with that's her lifestyle, and if it was gonna work for her, it worked. If it wasn't gonna work for you, she wasn't trying to insult you, but that's just the way she was.
Right.
It's like her talking.
Right.
Claire talked a blue streak.
Yeah.
I would be riding with her, and I'd have to get somewhere.
Right.
And I'd have to say, Claire,
Uh-huh.
I gotta go.
Right.
Or, Claire, my horse won't stand here anymore. I'm gonna get bucked off. I gotta go.
Right.
But, and it was never insulting. That's just, Claire just
Yeah.
loved to
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah. It was like she lived her life on a game board. And she was in her element, so to speak. Let's come back in the second set. We want to talk a little bit about a fundraiser you're planning on at the Carolina Horse Park. We want to talk about her family a little bit. Her husband, David Keith, who's just one of the finest guys that I know, and tell you some funny stories before she got married. I couldn't attend her wedding. I was invited. I saw the pictures that you sent. They were great. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first time she had been married, and she wanted it done her way, and she got her way. We're talking all about Claire Bruno. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the second set of All Things Moore County. We're talking about a friend of ours who passed in June, Claire Bruno, who left a great impression on a lot of people in Moore County. And we're being joined by some of her friends who have great recollections: Susan Beebe, Lori Heim, and Brian Rosenberg. And whenever it comes to Claire, we all have a lot of stories. We were sharing them during the break, and we said, there was something very organic about her. She was in many ways a throwback to the 1950s or 1960s. She did things the old-fashioned way. There was nothing that was automated about her. She didn't have a tablet. She didn't. She did everything by hand, and it was just very organic. And Laura, you made a comment during the break that Claire was always teaching, mentoring, coaching. I was not a good student when I was a kid. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, and that carried on into my adulthood because she would try to teach and coach me. And I could listen for a little while. My attention span would then meander. I just couldn't digest it all. And I believe that the reason I loved Claire so much was because I trusted her. She wanted to do what was right by the property, and but I didn't have to know everything that she did. I just wanted it to run like clockwork, and she would throw names of plants at me. I couldn't spell them, and she wanted me to understand why they were going here and there. And I always thought Claire would always be around. For me, I don't know how you all feel. I'm at a loss right now. I look at my gardens, yards that she's done. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And we always had plans to increase angles, visualizations from the house where you could look out and maximize the light. And I was all about taking a few trees down here and there. And oh my God, when I told her that, she wanted to put me under citizen's arrest. You can't take that tree down. I go, Claire, all it's doing is messing this up. And I need to open it up. Why are you taking that tree down? Do you not understand? I'm like, oh my God, it's like my mom.
But Susan, I remember hearing shortly after Claire's death, Susan and I were talking, and that's exactly what you said to me about, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now?
Huh?
I know. I mean, we were at a loss, and in a funny and poignant way, at the funeral, Gabe, her youngest son, told all of us that the one thing Claire would want is not to let the flowers die. Water your plants. Do not let them die.
Right.
So I, who never watered anything, watered everything in memory of Claire.
Did you really?
And we found somebody to help us who's lovely, but nobody will ever be Claire. She
Right.
was Mother Earth. She was just, as I've said earlier, a bright light.
Yeah.
Always happy.
A couple of weeks after Claire died, David, her husband, came out to the house. He was working on some irrigation issues that I had. It was a service call, and I had only seen him once prior to that since she had passed. And she brought Claire's dog, and I don't recall the
Summer.
Summer. Okay. And does David still have Summer?
Summer is his.
Okay.
And Charlie and I adopted Bugsy, her beloved horse.
So you have Bugsy. Okay. How old is Bugsy?
Bugsy is 20 or 21.
And what's the average? Is it 30 years?
Horses live now into their mid-30s easily.
Okay.
He's very healthy. He is one of those horses that will always be on the right side of good.
Okay.
He was feral when she got him, and he loved Claire more than life itself, and vice versa. And it was a hard transition for Bugsy for the first few months, but he now has a sweet girl named Alexa Stuyvesant who works for us, and she and Bugsy are a pair now. And just
Wow.
in the last month, Bugsy took Alexa to her first competition as an event rider at the Carolina Horse Park in the War Horse event series. And Bugsy is teaching Alexa about eventing.
Oh,
And
wow.
I feel certain Claire was flying right alongside with him this last month.
Oh, wow. How many horses do you have on your farm?
We have at any given time between 15 and 18.
Wow.
Yeah. We've been a little quiet for a few months, and now we're back right up to 18 horses.
Do you board, or are they all yours?
No, we board horses. Charlie and I both teach and train. We have personal horses that we compete.
Okay.
It's a quiet/busy operation.
Wow.
It's a lifestyle, not a job.
So you must be up at 4:00 every morning.
Well, I'm very lucky. We're very well staffed at our farm, so we have a lot of great people that work with and for us.
Okay.
So we don't have to get up much earlier than 6.
Because Claire was an early riser, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
I mean, she was out and about, and there were days I would be sitting at my home office, and I would look outside, and I would see Summer, and I would see Claire, and it was like 7:15 in the morning, and she had already been to the stables.
Yep.
that day.
Oh yeah.
And she was just out getting her daily routine started. And she would be walking around, and she was not a slave to fashion. She was natural. She was earthy. And sometimes I would see a different streak in her hair, a different color, different set of jeans, different set of boots. And I would look and I would think to myself, every day I get up and I wear khaki pants or I wear a golf shirt and I'm my uniform. Claire didn't have a uniform, but she lived a lifestyle like 24/7. And I would look and I would say, there's a free spirit.
Now,
Absolutely.
I would like to know if she was out there at 7:15. Was she making sure you hadn't hurt any of her plants?
Yeah, she would scold me sometimes because I would have I would ask her for somebody to come down and take some trees down. She goes, "Why?" I go, "Claire, I need to open this yard just a little bit. It's been overgrown." But they're so beautiful. She saw the beauty in everything, and she would just sort of she was like a barber. You come in with this crazy head of hair, and she didn't want to lose the spirit of the hair. She just wanted to trim around it, right?
No, see, I had the opposite
Okay.
experience because mine, when I got so busy, I really couldn't keep the garden under control. And so I Claire came over to give me advice, and she said, just hack it off.
Really?
Yeah, cut it down, and then it'll grow up, and you can shape it as it comes. So we did that. She did that one time with a holly, and told me to do the other one. So I don't know why. Maybe she didn't like my trees as much as yours, but she was so pragmatic in that way, and she was so right, of course. And she told me, as you said, she told me exactly why she wanted to do it. Yeah. But her aesthetic sense, I think, was exceptional.
Right.
She had a vision and could see how plants would go together, the flow, what would be the most aesthetically pleasing. And so when that holly got in the way, it was out of there.
She would come to my office and talk, and she would work at my office as well. She would walk into the office, walk up the stairs, and speak to my administrator of 20 years. Her name was Dee. And she would tell Dee that I wanted to take some trees down at my house. And I could hear the two of them talking like I was the bad kid. I mean, she would make a beeline for Dee. And, of course, Dee and Claire saw the world very similarly. But then I thought, this is really cute. I mean, this is something to cherish. She was very organic. When her sister, Star, came, Claire loved Southern Pines. Claire loved Moore County. And she and her sister were very close. I didn't really know her other sister. I met her once or twice. But Grant and Star came, and they bought a home here that they used part-time. And I guess Star was her numbers person, her business side that tried to keep her on task. Is that the... She paid the bill. She kept the records.
She did, and then since Star wasn't here year round for a while, then another Lori Rose did for at least some time, but I'm not sure how many years she did that. But yeah, she also had, I think, many a story that she could tell about Claire's accounting or lack thereof.
Yeah. The thing I loved about Claire was when she was getting married, she was planning the wedding, and she was coming to the house telling me all about the wedding and how it was going to be. She had this vision, and she could not have been with a greater guy than David, who I've also had the privilege to know, and I'm sure you have as well, and his son. Such a steady, just a gentleman, he is... an old soul. And I saw the pictures that you had sent me, and it was great to see. It was kind of like going back to Woodstock a little bit.
Yep.
It was a little bit from the 70s. Is that, yeah.
Absolutely.
Were you all there?
I wasn't able to go, but of course, we all saw lots of pictures.
I'm sure.
One of my favorite portions of the wedding that she told us about is after the wedding,
Yep.
after they'd done everything, everyone jumped in the pond, and there's this beautiful picture that I've got to find.
Oh, good.
Of her coming up out of the water after her wedding.
Do you have that? Okay.
And she just looks so happy and at peace.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to come back in the third set. We want to talk more about Claire, and we want to talk about the memorial gardens that you are putting together in her memory, in her honor. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Moore County. We're going to wrap up our show today. It's appropriate that we selected Thanksgiving week to talk about our friend Claire Bruno. Every holiday, is a time to reflect, and the people that are not with us anymore. And Claire was loved by many. And she had the common touch, and yet she reached out, and her touch expanded to a circle way ahead of anything I think she ever could have imagined. Can you talk a little bit about her impact on the Carolina Horse Park and her relationship, because it was special?
Claire loved being out there.
Yeah.
She and I were both amateur eventers, and it was the joy of being out there.
Right.
And we are so lucky in this area to have a facility like the Carolina Horse Park, which, although they host major professional venues as well,
Right.
it has always been a site for the amateurs like Claire and I to go out there, bomb around a cross-country course, have the time of our life, and hone our skills, perfect things, mainly just have fun. And there aren't many communities that have that. Claire and I would often talk about how lucky we were that it was just 45 minutes away. So Claire's way of giving back was, I think, to try to beautify the horse park, and not only have it be a fun place for horses, but it combined her passions.
Right.
There were people, because she would go around and talk to everybody, get groups together, just chatting. She had the gardens that Brian talked about that she would take care of, volunteer to do, and the horses. So it was a perfect blend. I have no idea where she found the time to do it, but she did it, and she loved it.
She never slept. Her day was 24 hours.
Yeah.
I don't
Ours
know.
was 12. Maybe she just invented it at the time, filled in the voids. Brian, tell me a little bit about the horse park. It's a 315 equestrian venue that hosts 35 weeks of events.
Right. It is 315 acres, which is a big area. And one thing that is happening in the country is that a lot of these venues are very commercial. So there's amazingly very little grass. They have, paving and synthetic surfaces, and everything is as tightly packed as you can possibly do it. And our approach is totally different. It's open space. There's more grass than you could ever have your horse eat. And so we have space for, of course, with 315 acres, obviously, most of it is not gardens, but it's all beautiful open space. And then around the show arenas is where Claire bloomed. And with 35 weekends or weeks of events, we have over 15,000 people that come through that area every year. And so, she took great pride in it and wanted everybody to have a good impression of the area. We draw people, well, for some of them, we draw them from Europe, but, everywhere in North Carolina and the surrounding states, they come many times a year, and she just liked it to be, this is what the Sandhills can be like. It's beautiful.
Yeah. The horse park also hosts educational and environmental events as well.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, this past weekend we have the return of our falconry exhibit, which is always very popular. Flying falcons from our tower building, and teaching people about the habitat. We have bat walks. We have all sorts of environmental programs. Yeah. The bat walk is very popular too, because we have a lot of different kinds of bats, which I did not know. But when you walk around with an iPhone with an attachment, you can identify them all. It's amazing.
So how does a retired attorney, practicing or non-practicing, evolve to get to a spot where you are with the Carolina Horse Park? The two seem so different.
Well, you sort of get sucked into these things.
Okay.
But, it's such an important part of our equestrian community. We have the Walter Moss Foundation, we have the Moore County Hounds, and we have the Carolina Horse Park. And that's why people who like horses move to this area. It's why our real estate is valuable. It's everything about it is important. We have more Olympians or former Olympians in this area that you can shake a stick at.
Right.
And the reason that these people settle here is the sand is wonderful for horses' feet. Yeah. And it's just got so many attributes. And so I wanted to be a part of that and to help it grow. And the horse park has really grown a lot in the last, especially 5 years. We made a ton of improvements.
Tell me what you have planned for Claire. To preserve her memory?
Well, let me start with the building,
okay?
Because just recently we built a new show pavilion, and it is right in the center. It's now the heartbeat of all of the events at the horse park. People, all 15,000 of those people are going to go through that building because it's where you register. It's right in the middle of the pedestrian pathways, but it's sort of just sitting there out in the middle of the area with nothing around it except the arenas, and that's when a plan started happening.
Lori?
Well, right. So the Jim Baker Pavilion is right at the end of the show jumping, and it's also where a lot of people gather on either side of the building, watching things, or in the evenings, competitors getting together, or during the day watching the show. But it's just been dirt because it's recently constructed. So shortly, right after Claire's death, I had been thinking about her gardens there, and I didn't have a site or anything in mind. And I talked with Susan, and Susan had been thinking the exact same thing, although Susan's vision was grander than mine. And she said I should sort of run with it, and so I got a group of people together to sort of come up with the idea, with Susan's prodding to make it substantial and worthy of Claire.
Right.
And not just a bush here or a tree there.
Right.
So our group got together, and the obvious spot that needed beautification was around the Jim Baker Pavilion. And since it was already a meeting area, it was just everything Claire. It was horses, it was garden, and it was a place to bring people together that was gorgeous and have people walk through.
Right.
So took a little time, but that's where we're at. We now have
we have a plan.
We have a plan. We have a bid. We have drawings. We know exactly where everything is supposed to go, and hopefully we'll make it happen.
So there will be a Claire Bruno Memorial Garden Fund. Is that how it is going to be presented? And we want to reach out to people about it.
Right. We have all of these people who have these gardens have donated plant materials. People who have worked with her are donating some of the labor. But for the costs, yes, we're establishing the memorial fund through the Carolina Horse Park Foundation.
And so if people want to donate, because the ask is donations to help for the facility, and for Claire, the checks are made out to?
Carolina Horse Park, and can be mailed to our office, or if you want to do it directly from the website, that's the easiest and fastest. That's at carolinahorsepark.com. And then there's, on that landing page, there's support the park, and that will take you right to a button.
So it's a tax deductible contribution.
Fully tax deductible. That's
And
correct. We're a 501c3.
So they would just earmark the check in the memo as Claire Bruno or Claire Bruno Memorial Garden. Will there be a plaque? Will there be any sort? Yes, Lori, look at her smile.
Well, this was, again, Susan's idea.
How come she's not talking? She's not taking any of the credit. Okay.
I'm an idea person.
Okay.
These two are executing,
She,
and I'm going to
remember,
raise money.
she does not get up at 5 in the morning. She gives you the ideas and then she sleeps.
Till 6.
Till 6.
Okay.
So one of the notions was it was sloped off in the wrong way. So we needed a wall,
Okay.
retaining wall, to level it off, and then that set us up to have some benches
Okay.
with plaques on the benches and gardens around it, a little walk path.
Yeah.
Flower with. We already have a. It's called a war horse. It's a painted pony. Remember those from down along Southern Pines?
Yes, yes.
So one of those is at the horse park. So we want to relocate that, put it with a garden around it, walkways going in and out of the building, and again the benches for people to sit and watch and gather.
Okay.
But yes, there will be a recognition plaque for the donors for
Wonderful.
the project.
And I hadn't meant a recognition plaque as much as a plaque with Claire's name.
Yes.
Oh.
Those are on all the benches.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We're running short on time, but I appreciate you all coming in. We all share a love for Claire, and we all miss her. And there are a lot of people who feel the same way we do, who are not sitting here at this table. But it's a good thing to do what we're doing. I appreciate you coming, Lori. Brian, appreciate it. Susan, she took the wheel the last set. You know, she just sat there and said, "I'm just gonna park myself here and let you all talk." We love you, Claire Bruno, and good time for us to speak about this. Enjoy your families and your memories and all the things, all the people that have left impressions on you that will stay with you the rest of your life. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.